Welcome to episode 32 on the Rebel podcast. It's a podcast for creative rebels and entrepreneurs of all sorts. In this episode, I sit down with Rebel Spencer Estabrooks to talk about being an independent, genre-bending filmmaker. You might know him from such hits as Sharkasaurus, Deadwalkers, The Hunt, and a new project you'll hear about towards the end of the episode called Robots Are Jerks. The Rebel podcast is sponsored by Make More Creative and Drop Baron Panda Productions. Check us out at www.dropbaronpanda.tv for more. Thanks so much to Emery Chords for the killer theme music, and don't forget to subscribe. You can do it on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play Music, anywhere else that you get your fine podcasts. Please welcome my guest, Spencer Estabrooks. Holy crap, you've done some cool shit.
Hey, thank you. Thanks. Thanks.
You're welcome. So most people will know you from your graphic novel and short film Sharkasaurus,
Right.
as well as like a dozen other short film projects.
Yeah.
As well. And you just released One Hit Die season 3.
Yeah.
That's right. So welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me. Yeah.
So you went to school at U of A.
Yes.
You got your BFA in film studies.
Just a Bachelor of Arts, actually. So I got like an academic degree. And, you know, when I got out of it, I was like, okay, who wants to hit me up with some jobs to find out my opinion on film? And very few people had those jobs available.
Oh, so you went and worked at Acme Works? Is that...
Yeah.
Did I get that right?
Yeah. So I was, I went to Victoria Motion Picture School because I thought,
nice.
why not become a director of some sort? And it's one of those times, like, you know, you go to a film school and it's like everyone's like, they ask a question like, who wants to be a director? And everyone puts up their hand. And who wants to be a grip? And it's like the crickets are so deafeningly loud. But you know, it was an interesting experience to get a diploma there.
Yeah,
like a very expensive 8-month course. I don't know if it was worth it, but the friends I made there, I still am friends with today. And so, you know, sometimes just doing that to meet the people you meet is good. Yeah.
So do you do work with those guys?
There's a couple in Ontario that I work with, and a couple that I keep track of. So
nice. And so, how did you enjoy your time on the island?
Oh, I love the island.
Yeah,
beautiful. I wish I worked in government or tourism. It seems like the best place to be.
Yeah, no kidding. Now, where was Acme Works? Where was that based out of?
So based out of Calgary here.
Okay,
yeah.
And so you ended up becoming sort of the senior film post-production supervisor?
Yeah, so I ended up, I worked at Acme Works. I started like pretty low level.
Yeah.
And by the end I was, you know, a little higher than that. I think I was the most senior person there. Yeah. But we basically did archival work for Warner Brothers and Cartoon Network. And
sweet.
Yeah, so I really sat around and watched cartoons all day.
That's a job.
Yeah, and occasionally we shot stuff out on 35mm film.
Yeah.
But it gave me a lot of access to a lot of really cool tools in post-production, and you know, some of the time and effort to turn it around. So when I did my first I did a zombie western.
Right.
Called Deadwalkers. I actually, because we archive all of Warner Brothers stuff on 35mm film.
Yeah.
I saved a reel that we were going to throw out and shot out my first zombie western on 35mm.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and it was like we shot it in red, so it came out pretty nice. So I have a 35mm print of my first zombie western.
Wow. And this is kind of like your world, right? Your milieu is, you know, the campy, like off the hook.
Yeah, I love
genre.
That. I love that. And you know, I was born and raised in Alberta, so I really, you know, I grew up on a farm. You know, I remember we had a rodeo at our school. I know, and like junior,
wow.
I think they canceled it by the time we got to junior high, but they'd like do greased pig competitions, and you know,
oh my God,
yeah, where you let like 30 kids into a arena with 30 greased pigs, and the first person back with a greased pig wins, you know. And my grandfather was a veterinarian, and we had horses around, so
yeah, I
always gravitated towards Western genre, just out of nostalgia.
Yeah.
And Unforgiven was shot here, and we do so many great Westerns here. It's always like the landscape inspires me. And, you know, I've got these old towns that big movie sets come along and build.
Yeah.
And then they get recycled. So, yeah, I've always loved the Western. So
that's great.
Yeah.
It's genre. It's your thing.
I really like genre.
But it's like, it's all over the place. Like it's zombie Western. It's In a what's the type of shark again?
Sharkasaurus.
Yeah, Sharkasaurus. But what's the type of dinosaur?
Like a half T-Rex, half megalodon.
Yeah,
is what we call it.
Yeah.
But,
what did they? What's the name that
Kakerodon?
Kakerodon.
Yeah.
Right.
Although there's a new dinosaur we just discovered today, called. I was just looking at on.
Like this, and this is an actual dinosaur?
This is an actual dinosaur, and it just came from like Paleontology World, and they have a dinosaur with a fin, and it's, I don't know how to pronounce this, but it's a Concavenator.
Oh my God.
Concavenator, like Concavenator. Yeah.
I'll put a link to this thing in the liner notes.
Yeah.
So basically, before they discovered this dinosaur, you discovered the dinosaur.
Right, of course.
Yeah.
I created the Sharkasaurus. It's been a good little monster since then. So
That's awesome. Before Sharkasaurus, you won some awards for The Hunt.
Yes.
Which was sort of a practical effects short film.
I really like practical effects.
Yeah.
I think working with them on set is fun. It gives the actor something interesting. And if you can shoot around, just try and alleviate anything that looks a little cheesy,
yeah,
it works out really well.
Yeah.
So
I really enjoyed it. And one thing I loved about it was, I loved it's like a simple set. It's a simple story. The gore was great.
Right?
Yeah. And who did your prosthetics?
Bleeding Arts. So Leo Weezer.
Yeah, I love them.
Yeah, he did it. And I think Brandon Allen sculpted the monster. It's funny, so it's a full bodysuit that was like sculpted. But because it's a child monster, it has most of the action in it.
Yeah.
We ended up getting this small theater actress named Jamie T. And she's, just because of her flexibility, she's small, she can fit in the suit, she's very versatile physically.
Yeah.
But it was so funny just because you had this like hideous looking monster, but the voice that would come out, she's got a very high pitched voice. She'd just be like, "Oh hey, how was that take? Was that okay? Okay, let me know if you better." And just like, you're looking at this like hideous monster, and just hearing this voice.
Oh my God.
Sounds like from such a sweet, wonderful person.
Do you have some outtakes of that somewhere?
I don't think we had a lot of behind the scenes on that one.
Yeah.
And we started doing behind the scenes later on. So
how was it shooting in that trailer? Because was it shot all in that trailer?
Yeah, it was shot in that trailer. So because we got a grant from the Alberta Foundation of the Arts for that film. So we actually went out and bought a trailer. I think we paid like $1,500 for it, and then we gave it to Bleeding Arts. Oh. And they ripped it apart. They ripped the toilet out. They put a second entrance in. So it was like no longer a functional trailer.
Right.
It was a trailer that was more designed for the shots that we wanted to get.
Gotcha.
And because that was a really good thing, because just going into the trailer, looking at like, these are the decisions you got to make. Where's most of the action going to happen?
Right.
Can we move that seat over here? Can we do this?
Right.
And they're really accommodating with it. And there's like, I think 2 entrances into it, and like room for lights and stuff like that. So
crazy.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's good to try and, I think sometimes we get really ambitious ideas, but it's good to try and keep things as simple as possible, and just understand that, when you're shooting things, especially with a low budget, you don't have a lot of control of the world. Right. So the more control you can try and put into your plan to start with, when you lose control eventually, because it does happen, the less out of control you are. So,
right.
Yeah.
Right. Man. How, like, from a production standpoint, like when you're in production, like what's your thing when you're directing? Like what's the Spencer, what do people know when they come off a set with you, having worked with you?
Oh, geez, I don't know. I don't talk to them afterwards. No. I think maybe, I don't know. I think I'm really open to ideas too. I think I'm really flexible.
Yeah. And
I try and have fun a lot. I figure that if we have a good time shooting it, that energy is going to come out of the screen, that people are positive, and it's, and people really try hard.
That's cool.
So
I can't believe you killed Terry Cahill. I was just thinking about that like 2 seconds ago.
Oh yeah, I know. Did
you get letters?
No. It's a funny little Easter egg for people that know it, right?
Yeah.
So, they're like, "What? Was that Terry?" yeah, we killed Terry.
Yeah, it's wild. And you've gotten a lot of your funding through AMF from
Storyhive. Although we think we killed Terry. Maybe he's so laden with alcohol that Sharkasaurus spit him out afterwards. I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. Well,
so there could be like a revenge
exactly
movie after this, like just giving her.
Yeah.
Nice. That's awesome. So I was just asking about your funding. Like you've got a lot of funding through AMF, the Alberta Media Fund.
Yeah. Alberta Foundation of the Arts and Storyhive.
And Storyhive. Yeah. What was your first Storyhive one?
Sharkasaurus.
It was, right?
Yeah, and Sharkasaurus was the first Storyhive they funded. Totally. So it was
that's historical.
The very first Storyhive, and it was one of the ones that was picked. And like, you know, for those that don't know what Storyhive is there's a local cable distribution company called Telus, and they're required by the CRTC to put money back in the industry. So they have it happens every now and again at their whim, but they hold these online competitions to get people to vote, and they get feedback on how well it does. Right now, I think the voting period's like 5 days. But when we first started, the voting period was like a month.
Oh my God.
And
were you still having to do the, hey guys, vote for our thing, hitting up all your friends like for 30 days?
Oh yeah, but like I get bored of that, right? So like, you know, you can only hit so many people so many times, right? Before they're like, okay, we've already voted, Spencer.
Yeah, we're blown out.
Yeah, so but like we started doing a lot of like grassroots marketing for it.
Oh, cool.
So what we would do is we would do on Twitter, we would start trolling people on Twitter as Sharkasaurus, and all our tweets were first person from the Sharkasaurus's perspective. So like, you know, Charity for Kids would follow us, or like Food for Kids would follow us, and we're like, yes, please feed the children. We like them fat when we eat them.
Oh my God.
And just like that kind of stuff. And then we started doing, they have a YYC Burger Week where they're encouraging people to review.
Yeah.
So we started doing Sharkasaurus burger reviews.
Oh my God.
And we did like little stop motion videos about a little thin napkin that would eat burgers and then get covered in bloody ketchup. And like we put up lost paleontologist or lost paleontologist signs with little numbers you could tag or pull off with the website.
Oh my!
The website would go right to the voting.
Yeah,
but it'd be like last seen with Sharkasaurus. You know,
hilarious.
We took out because they had a weekly magazine at the time. Fast forward, we took out a newspaper ad with a creationist and paleontologist looking for threesome with Sharkasaurus. You know, if you're interested, like
wow.
Yeah, just like in the classify the personal section.
That's
just like
great.
whatever we do to like try and get the word out, you know, and just try and be, because we were very local specific, like we really didn't blow up elsewhere, but in Calgary, you know, we were really pushing it pretty hard, and you know, I'd be at the pub and someone would I'd be talking about Sharkasaurus, like, oh, you're that guy, and I'm like, oh yeah. That's me and my ridiculousness.
That's fantastic.
But it was so nerve-wracking too for a month, because you have to go to this point where you double down. You're like,
oh yeah,
because you're not always trending. You're not always like, they let you know a little bit about who's winning, but they don't tell you.
Yeah.
So, and it's, you know, there's a ton of really good projects out there.
Totally.
So I just like every time I'm just like, I just got to double down. I put so much effort in now. I just have to like make sure there's no way to go back. Right?
Wow. And so back then, did they do it just on votes, or did they?
The first one was just on votes.
Wow. Yeah. So like you had to go hard, because I know the ones after that were sort of a combination of votes and.
Yeah, they learned. This was the very first one. It was a test for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We Jen and I won one 2 years ago for a music video.
Yeah.
And really enjoyed the process. Like, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's a great process. Yeah. But you know, they didn't have any of the NSI training. This was literally their first crack, their first kick at the can.
Yeah. So, well, thanks for leading the way.
No worries.
So, and I don't want to spend the entire interview on Sharkasaurus, although I could, because I find it fascinating. You also did fundraising for the graphic novel.
Right, I did a Kickstarter for the graphic novel.
Yeah, and I want to say you, like, out of the $20,000 goal, you hit 21.
21,000. I think close to 22. Yeah. But that was just as tough.
And what a great looking book, by the way.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Jethro Morals did it, and that was, you know, I really wanted to do a big Sharkasaurus story. Yeah, I wanted to tell the ultimate Sharkasaurus story I could. Just because when we shot Sharkasaurus, like Telus gave us $10,000.
Yeah,
and that did not go very far at all.
No.
We shot out in Drumheller.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm still talking about Sharkasaurus. We
Yeah,
shot out in Drumheller.
let's do it.
But, you know, I feel ashamed. We didn't pay our crew. We put them up over in hotels overnight and fed them well. But, you know, there just wasn't the budget there. Because as soon as the hotel budget, you know, you put 30 people up in hotels, that's a big chunk of change that comes out of your budget. But at least I didn't have to drive back and forth because Drumheller's pretty far.
Yeah.
And it was a really hard shoot.
How long was the shoot?
2 days. In blistering 32-degree weather.
Oh my God. Yeah. And who did your Sharkasaurus? Because I saw the practical.
So Brandon Allen built it.
Okay, cool.
He's he's the same guy who sculpted the original Hunt puppet as well. Yeah. Or the Hunt costume. Yeah. For the monster.
Do you still have it?
No, but we recycled the Bleeding Arts owns it. But it's getting worse for wear. Like they only have so many wears in them. Right. We actually recycled the father monster as a snow troll for the Christmas special of One Hit Die. So we actually got a little bit of extra use out of that monster.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was great. And speaking of One Hit Die, I mean, that's a huge thing too. Like, holy crap.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you guys getting play everywhere. Season 3.
Yeah.
You did a feature, essentially, right? The Legend of the Lich Lord.
Yep.
Also shot local.
Yeah. So the story of that, I'll get back to the Kickstarter for Sharkasaurus.
Yeah, sure.
But I'll tell you the story of One Hit Die real quick and see if I can slam it down. So we got our first from the Alberta Foundation of the Arts, which gives out money to artists to make video projects, film and video projects. So we got a small grant for that. I think it was $15,000. Oh. And with that, we shot out at Rafter 6 Ranch. No longer Rafter 6, but still a cool little place. Just after the floods, it was actually a pretty difficult shoot. Just logistics wise. Yeah. So we shot 4 episodes. We had such a good time. We won Best Web Series and Best Fantasy Series at the Atlanta Web Festival. I wrote up 2 more episodes for Christmas, a Christmas special called Crushmas. Yeah. And we did a little mini crowdfunding. We didn't really raise that much money, but we had enough momentum behind us to shoot this second season, and it was a lot of fun. And then we gave that to Telus onto their VOD system, and then applied for a community access grant. So it wasn't a Storyhive project; it was a community access grant.
Interesting.
We made Legend of the Lich Lord through that, and that was another, again, terribly small budget compared to what we did. We shot 10 days, and basically did a feature film. Yeah. And then we put that out. It actually did really well the year that it came out. It was in the top 10 of their VOD downloads for Telus.
Amazing.
So they came back and they're like, hey, look, why don't we commission you to do a 3rd series, and this time we'll make it a Telus Originals. Nice. And I'm like, that's great. So we shot that in April last year. Yeah. And it came out. It's on Telus Video on Demand. It's on a place called the Fantasy Network, and it's also on Amazon Prime in the US and UK.
Damn, son.
Yeah. So it's
that's wicked.
It's picking up steam. Yeah, you know?
That's great. Now, do you have any? Okay, let's shelve that for a second. Let's go back to Sharkasaurus, the novel, the graphic novel, because you're just so fascinating, and the shit that you do blows my mind. I find myself jumping all over the place.
It's okay. So does my mind.
Yeah. So let's go back. You did a GoFundMe?
So it was a Kickstarter.
Okay.
So it's all or nothing with the Kickstarter.
Oh shit.
And we started off the gate pretty good. Because I was able to recycle a lot of the visual effects that we used in the short film. Yeah. And we had the puppets. We went back with the Drumheller, just like me and this guy Charles Hamilton, who was the DOP on season 3 of One Hit Die. Yeah. But had worked on Crushmas and the original Sharkasaurus as well. And basically we shot this extra little bit of me doing my pitch, but we used a lot of the visual effects from Sharkasaurus. And it's so ridiculous. Like, I think we had such a funny pitch video. Yeah. We got put on the Kickstarters to watch page.
Really?
And so that spiked our traffic right off the bat. And I was like, great, this is awesome.
Oh my God.
But then it dropped off so suddenly, and it was like, oh, geez, it just kind of like flatlined there.
Oh.
And then I realized like all the stuff came from people outside of Alberta. Like they were all like
Really
other people. And I was just like, oh man.
So you hadn't even tapped the local.
Right. So that alerted me to two things. Like one, you know, when you do a Kickstarter, you really got to organize yourself. You got to have email lists, and you know, because there's a lot of people that would back it and are ready to back it.
Sure.
But they just got to know about it and know about needing to back things early on.
Yeah. Great rewards, by the way.
Oh, thanks.
Like, had I been aware at the time, I totally would have been the Easter egg.
Oh yeah.
Like I would have freaking loved to see myself in the book somewhere as like a hot sauce or something.
Yeah. It was fun. But you know, that's really hard. I've never written a graphic novel before, or produced a graphic novel. So
yeah.
I got my background's in post-production, so I can handle that stuff very well.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then suddenly I was, in this world of, working with an artist, and working with a colorist. And I'm in a position where, as a filmmaker, I get like 30 people for like 2 days, and we work our butts off.
Yeah.
And now I've got an artist and a colorist.
And it's going to go on for...
And it takes like, 6-8 months to do this project, right?
Man,
and then
that's got to hurt.
Well, yeah, it's so, and then if he gets a cold, he's down for the week. And I'm like, what? Like, and I said, if you get a cold, you just like, I don't know, like take a bunch of like drugs and power through it. That's what we do in film. But, I understand, like art, it doesn't, art takes time and patience to do. So
yeah, for sure.
It's just a different momentum and different speed. So we finished that. We got picked up by Renegade Arts Entertainment. So we have a publisher now, and you can get it on Comixology. You can get it at Amazon, Chapters, lots of places. So
cool. Are you going to do a second book?
Yes, we've got a couple plans for a second book. I have. So one thing with Sharkasaurus, and after I published the book, I started doing all these conventions.
Yeah, but I saw you at HorrorCon here last year.
Yeah, so I go to conventions and I'm selling books, and it's great. The response is fantastic. People really love Sharkasaurus, and it's a pretty popular thing. But it's really popular with kids. Like, kids love Sharkasaurus. Like 5-year-olds, they see it, and then
really,
girls and boys, they grab hold of the book and they want to take it home with them, and their parents won't let them because of the gore and horror, right? So
a kid's book, then, I guess.
Yeah. So so there's two streams. I do have, like, when I came up with Sharkasaurus, I have a trilogy I want to do with the Sharkasaurus monster.
Yeah.
But we're also, my publisher, the guy who runs Renegade Arts Entertainment, Alexander Finbo, he has a kid's book called When Big Bears Invade, and it's very Canadian.
Right, we saw that.
Yeah, so we're going to be working on doing a book called Sharkasaurus versus Big Bears, and it's kind of like the rise of the Canadian Kaiju, and it's about like two kids having an imagination battle, right? It's more like a kid friendly but still action packed, awesome, over the top, ridiculous adventure, but more designed to like inspire kids to like create their own monsters and tell their own stories.
Right. Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
We bought I think we bought some little finger puppets for at your show.
Yes. Yeah.
Which we gave to Jen's nephews.
Aw, that's great.
So there's like a Sharkasaurus and bear battle happening just north of here.
That's excellent. Yeah, the finger puppets were like, I had that. I'm just like, sometimes you get ideas, you're like, why not? And then you try it and it happens, and you're like, wow.
So just to talk about that for a second, you come across as this guy who basically comes up with this idea or plan, talks about it with some people, does some stuff, and says "what if" a lot. Like, is that accurate?
Pretty much, yeah.
And then you just go ahead and do it to see what if.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Yeah. But it's always fun, and we're always doing. I'm trying to stay, current and do fresh things, and try and tell interesting stories, and I think make people laugh. Yeah. As well. Is there a feature film for Sharkasaurus in the future? Yeah, we're working on a feature film right now, so it is in the works. Great. Yeah, we're going to be applying for a little bit of funding for that. We'll also be going down to Banff and trying to pitch it down there. So. Oh, cool. I think, it's just, I think it's too fun a concept. I think having the book out right now is nice. Yeah. Now it can be adapted from a book. Yeah. It's so funny to go from a short film to a book to a feature. Right. Like, it's just a little hiccup there, but like, I don't know. That's pretty dope though. And your logo, like as I was saying earlier, I don't know whether it was when we were recording or not, but I've got this little lapel pin. And when people see it, they're like, there's some people that are like instantly they're in the know. And they're just like, yeah. Then there's some people that think it's a Jesus fish. Then they look at it closer and they're like, what? Yeah, a lot. I've heard like some people bring it home and they're like, oh, my wife was like, what are you doing with that? But I've also heard like people that are like, I'm gonna put this on my car to piss because my neighbor's a devout, evangelical. Yeah. And I'm less like, oh, geez. Totally. Well, I think it's better than the Evolve sticker. Like if you've seen that one with the little feet on it and stuff like that. Yeah, I much prefer your Sharkasaurus sticker. I think it's just absolutely outstanding. Yeah. I wanted a good logo, like something that was like nothing too, I wanted simple, but like, summed up everything. Yeah. You can, as soon as you see it, you know what it is. And that's great. You also did, I want to say for the listeners that are into D&D, you have a Sharkasaurus dungeon card, don't you? Oh yeah, is that right? One of the guys I met in Vancouver. The nice thing about doing these cons is I go around and I talk to people, and it's nice to be able to sell someone a book, and the next day they come back and they're like, "Oh my god, this book was great." Yeah. Thank you. It's a feedback you don't get as a filmmaker or as a writer very often. So it's nice to have that. But like I also get people that are, Chris Stewart. I came into him. He's a huge D&D player, and he loved Sharkasaurus. And he's like, "Can I make a Sharkasaurus monster for you?" And I'm like, "Yes." And then he made this awesome monster, and he play tested it, and he play tested it for about 3 weeks and would make subtle changes on it. Really? Yeah, and it was, it was a lot of fun too, because like he would send me some of the stuff, and I'm a big D&D nerd too, so I'd read it over, but I'm not like I'm not a game designer, so I'll go, I don't have a lot of points to make about it, but there's a couple things I'm like, I just want to say that Sharkasaurus is a lot more likable. Could you raise his charisma? He had a little charisma of like 3. I'm like, no, come on. Everyone loves Sharkasaurus. He's a charming bastard. And then when it came to his attacks, right, he had like a bite and then like a really powerful tail. Yeah. And I'm like, what about his little claws? And he's like, well, I just don't see his claws doing a lot of damage. I'm like, that's not the point. He could still use them. Right. So now he's got like this like terribly massive damage on his tail. Yeah. He's got a bite that can swallow a character. Yeah. And then he's got 2 like 1d4 attacks with his little claws, just only within a 5-foot radius. And I kind of want to. I think it's really funny because I just imagine like the DM, like hitting them with the tail, and then being like, "All right, let's roll." Oh, you got a 20 on his like, on a claw attack, and he like slashes away your pride for 3 damage, or just something that's so weak. Try to build that kind of comedy and humor into the monster's fun. Of course, you have to, because this monster lives now separate from you. Yeah. It's got its own life. Yeah, and it's got to have fun. Oh, that's so cool. Yeah, I sent that to a friend of mine that plays D&D with some friends every month. I'm just like, I don't know if you can work this into your game, but you should. It's challenge level 13. He's not an easy monster. He's pretty badass. Yeah, yeah. There's another podcast called Tavern Tales, I think, and they do a regular D&D game
that we should try and get Sharkasaurus in there.
We should. I should start sending. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
But that's really cool. So to now flip back over to One Hit Die,
Right.
Just to keep giving the listeners whiplash. So you did the feature, which was sort of like a season, right? Like,
yeah.
But
I like to every season. I like it to be a standalone.
Yeah.
So there's like a one shot campaign. Yeah. They start an adventure and finish an adventure, and there is an overarching plot that goes through, but it's not necessary to enjoy the full season.
Yeah.
So you don't have to watch season 1. You have to watch Christmas. You can watch season 2, Legend of the Lich Lord. You can watch season 3, The Devouring Dungeon. Like each one's its own little thing, right?
That was such a fun show, The Devouring Dungeon. We went and saw that at Dickens, and oh my God, we were killing ourselves.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was so fun, especially watching the guy just disappear.
Oh yeah. And there are no safe words in Orcish land. So.
Yeah, right. Oh my God.
When we shot that scene, like people were crying on set.
No kidding.
It was just like, like as soon as they all cut, just the whole crew would just laugh out loud.
Okay,
yeah, just be holding their breath in.
Can people see that online, or do they have to have?
So you can watch it on what's called the Fantasy Network. So the Fantasy Network's kind of I'll do a little plug for the Fantasy Network because it's pretty cool. So Ben Dobbins, he created Gamers and Journey Quest. Is with the zombie Orpheus. So they've partnered up with Mythica and The Forge. The Forge does Rangers. So a bunch of these other crowd-funded web series.
Yeah.
That are all really good. And they put together this thing called the Fantasy Network. The Fantasy Network is a collection of like a home for all these places to go. So that when people support the Fantasy Network, that supports the creators that are making it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and it's also a place to find out. So if you're a fan of Zombie Orpheus, you can go on there and if you're I like Zombie Orpheus. What else you got? Right. You can look at other shows and other stuff like that.
So is it a paywall? Like, would I?
There's a bunch of free stuff on there. I think One Hit Die is behind a paywall right now.
That's cool.
Just for now.
I think it's worth paying for though. It's probably not expensive.
Oh no, for sure. I think it's like $5 a month or something.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But I think that we will probably launch it on YouTube. I just wanted to try something different this year because just going to YouTube. Sometimes it's like just a giant ocean. Yeah. And
well, and one thing I like about this Fantasy Network idea is, I mean, first of all, it's a network. And it's a network of creatives that are doing cool shit.
Yeah.
And I'm a huge believer that people should get paid for doing cool shit.
Right.
$5 a month to get access to this, even if you just watch one show, it's $5. Yeah. Like, why wouldn't you do that to support artists, right? To get crazy shit made.
You know, and I really am starting, like, when you look at like Patreon and ways to support artists that you value and care about their content. Yeah. So they continue creating. It's a interesting way of doing things, and I think that there's it's really viable. I'm a big Sam Harris podcast fan, so but he just left Patreon, but he's always been talking a lot about we come to a place where we think everything online should be free. Yeah. And I think access to it should be free, but I think there has to be a way for people to give back if they can afford to give back. Sure. And if they want to, but that should be encouraged more often than not. And I think it's a mentality that's changing right now.
Yeah. I'd like to think so. Just because, I mean, it's worth paying the money for. Yeah. It is possible to get free music online, for example. Right. But why? Because you take away somebody's ability to do their next thing, or their encouragement to do the next thing. And I think that we should always be encouraging artists to fucking create. Right.
and especially right now, and especially like even like simpler things like journalism too. I think that we get so used to reading free articles that the free articles are just end up being advertisements, because that's the only way that a writer can make money is by selling advertisements, and then you just become the shill for an ad. So
absolutely. Well, so investigative journalism, we were talking about this the other day, is all but a dead art and science, right? Like, it's nobody can afford to take the time to do the research. Nobody wants to read or wait for the actual story to come out, for the actual story to break. They'd rather have the Twitter, first 140 characters make a decision, jump down somebody's throat for a week.
Unless you turn it into a really good podcast, like Serial or like...
True.
John Ronson's doing really cool stuff too. I think he just did one for Amazon Prime.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
We'll have to check that out. Yeah, Serial. I will admit I have not listened to it. Jen is a huge fan.
Yeah. It's great. It's just, there's a lot of. I think they make fun of it a lot.
Yeah.
Now because it's such a style of like, and her like, there is a certain amount of the style in that is always questioning, what is it going to happen?
Right.
Is he really guilty? Is he not really guilty? Let's look at both sides of everything.
Right.
And there's a little bit of dishonesty in that too sometimes.
Yeah, fair enough.
But yeah, it's entertaining anyways.
Now, you are not always behind the camera. Sometimes you were in front of the camera. Yeah. And I happen to have it on good authority that you were, I want to say, Dr. Cowboy in the Cyborgs.
Right. So Storyhive, the Telus, they funded another project called Cyborgs, this like 80s action movie by Braden Brickner and David Hyatt.
It was ridiculous.
Yeah, it's and there was and it was really. I was on Facebook and I saw them post. And Nick Haywood is also there. I saw them post. I think it was Nick's post. I saw that they were looking for auditions, and I'm just like, I want to be in an 80s action movie.
Yeah,
I'm like, that's something I want to do. So I emailed them up. I'm like, can I be in your movie, or can I audition?
Yeah,
and they said, yeah, of course you can. I'm like, sure, why not? But then I'm like, oh shit, I have to audition. I don't have a headshot. Like I've done a lot of auditions like I've seen people audition for me, right? I'm like, everyone's got a headshot. I should get a headshot. But I'm like, I don't really want to go to go
crazy
and get a photographer and get headshots. I'm like, everyone tells me I look like a young Donald Sutherland. So why don't I just go online, grab a young Donald Sutherland photo from like Kelly's Heroes? That's because I have a beard. I kind of look like Donald Sutherland from Kelly's Heroes. I always have to say I look like a young Donald Sutherland, just to clarify it all. But yeah, so I got a picture of Donald Sutherland and I put my name on it and printed it off on photo paper, and handed that in. And it was funny because they looked at it and just put it on the pile and said go. And I'm just like, oh shit, my first joke failed.
Swing and a miss.
And then I did the audition. They let me do it once. And I'm like, thanks. I'm like, oh man, this is what it's like to be an actor. Fuck this shit.
Yeah, it's terrifying.
Yeah, so I was pretty sure I didn't get the part, but I did. Yeah. And they came out to me, I think on a strange brew screen. I think Nick came up and was like, they found the joke later. They were going through the headshots and realized that one wasn't me.
It was a slow burn.
It was a slow burn. And it's one of those moments, so like you see the joke go away and just like, just gonna let it sit there.
Yeah, don't explain the joke.
Yeah.
Never explain the joke.
Yeah. Always go for your slow burn. Yeah. People get it later. It's even funnier then.
It's awesome. So was he like laugh out loud when he
he's like, that was baller, man. I'm like, thanks.
That's awesome. How was that shoot? How was it being an actor on set?
It was great. I sit around, eat a lot of candy, snacks.
Nice.
No stress. It was just like chilling out. Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
That was great.
I did stress about learning my lines. I hate lines. I was like going through them. I had to spend a lot of time learning my lines.
Yeah. Did you guys rehearse first, or were you just like hit the set running because you had a short window?
I hit the set running. I was a pretty minor character, like a pretty badass character. But
now, did you live or did you die? I can't remember. Or is it?
So I got caught the first time, and then I came back again as a Pyro Picante cowboy, and then I got cut in half. So I think there's been talk about me coming back again,
right?
Maybe like a cyborg cowboy, or like a ghost cowboy,
right?
Get some clay pots in there.
Well, there's a lot of meth, if I remember the script correctly.
Super sugar, I think they call it.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you couldn't call it that. Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, my bad.
Yeah.
It's not meth. Super sugar. Yeah, that's great. Very cool. So what's sort of next for you? Like what's the next big thing on your list?
So I'm I do have another short script, which is again with Sharkasaurus I'm looking at like a trilogy. So after Sharkasaurus, like there's still that girl that lives. But the next one is actually like a prequel.
Oh.
It takes place in the 1870s. And it's about like miners that dig too deep. And it's like cowboys versus Sharkasaurus. So So that's what. So I'm trying. I've written a short one like that. So I think I would like to do that as a second book if I get money for the short film. I'd like to do that. Yeah. I think it'd be a lot of fun. And I love westerns. Just to circle back, that's where I started. And I love. I've done 2 other westerns since then. It's like short western films. I'm a huge fan of westerns.
Did you ever see Aliens versus Cowboys or Cowboys versus Aliens with the Daniel Craig? What do you think of that? I
think they. I wanted to like it a lot.
Yeah, the same reaction. I really did want to like it.
I think there was they had such great writers, but I think they just had so many great writers. Like not great writers, like they're great writers, sure, but they're they had the guys who did Transformers, all the blockbuster writers, like a team of because they had 3 teams of blockbuster writers working on it. I just think that. Yeah, I think just everything got ironed out, and if something doesn't have wrinkles, it doesn't have character. And it's just, I think
it was too slick.
Yeah, it was too slick and neat, and there was no maybe soul. I don't know.
Interesting.
It needed something. They needed something more. Like maybe just use one of those teams and let them go with it.
Yeah.
But I think all 3 of them just smoothed it out and made it flat.
Huh.
So
it's a great description of that. Huh.
Yeah, because it's lots of stuff happens, but there's nothing
but nothing happens.
Yeah, just they go. It's aliens want gold. It's cool. On paper, even when I tell you about it, when I describe it in my head, I'm like, God, it's cool. Yeah. But why wasn't it better?
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's just flat.
Yeah, I think that's a great description of it. That's it's amazing. Documentary.
Oh yeah.
Alberta.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So we hosted the Food Network Smokehouse at the Stampede this last year.
Yeah.
And we were pimping Alberta. Because they had a huge craft beer thing there, and you were one of our script notes.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah. So tell me about that, because.
So that was when I got out of film school, I did film school in Victoria, and Victoria is just a home of such beautiful beers. And when I got back to Alberta, we just don't have the beer culture they have in Victoria. And I always lamented it. I became a beer activist. I'd buy weird IPAs and leave them in people's fridges at parties and stuff like that.
Did you really?
Yeah.
That's outstanding.
Yeah, because I figured someone's going to get drunk, too drunk at the party and be like, whose beer is this? I'm going to drink it. And they'll be like, oh my God.
This is amazing.
This is what real beer tastes like?
Yeah.
It doesn't taste like water. Yeah, but when I was there, I always wanted to do the ultimate documentary of beer history. I got really into beer. I read a bunch of books. I was just it's such a fascinating, and at the same time, there was also I think the corporation, the documentary was out, and I just, just looking at this 2 approaches to business, right? Which is the corporate side versus the microbrewery side. I thought it was a really interesting parallel, right, on a larger concept. So I really wanted to do the ultimate history of beer, looking at this area. But I wanted it to be the whole, and I kept pitching it to everyone I could think of. And no, but there's no, beer's not cool enough, man. And then it just sat for years. And then there was another Telus community grant. And I'm like, well, why don't I dust off my beer documentary? But instead of making it about the world beer history, why not just dig into Alberta beer history? And then once I started on that, it became so interesting, and I think Alberta's got one of the most interesting beer histories there is.
Yeah.
And I was able to even look at the same kind of story ideas of different business models when it comes to beer.
Yeah.
Throughout it too, and how it's changed. So it was a great experience. I drank a lot of great beer.
That's awesome. That's fantastic. So speaking of which, do you have favorites? Do you have a top 3? Can you say that even?
No, we can't say that. I think there's favorite styles of beer.
Yeah. Okay. Let's do that. Favorite styles.
I'm I love IPAs. I know it's not cool to say you love IPAs. Some people think it's cool, but I'm a huge IPA guy. I love a good IPA.
I discovered one when we were doing that show at the Stampede. It was a nitro stout.
Oh yeah.
From Rail Yard, I want to say. And shit, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's when you open that can, man.
Yeah.
Magic happens.
I also think sour beers are really cool. I
Yeah.
love the sour revolution. Everything like sour beers are just fantastic to me.
Yeah.
And then I appreciate like, because when I, being from Alberta, I grew up just nostalgic. A lot of people still relate beers to nostalgia.
Yeah.
And Big Rock was around, and I drank a lot of traditional.
Yeah.
So I like a good like, you know, kind of like a red ale, like
Yeah.
just nice, something with a little bit of color, not a lager, but a nice good ale.
Awesome.
I like those.
Did you ever do anything for the Eddies?
Yeah, I did. We made it to the finals one year. I think it was me with a toque ranting about globerization. When I say I used to be a beer activist, so Big Rock Eddies is basically little fake commercials for a local brewery. So, and I kept submitting, but all of my submissions were basically me being like a crazy beer activist talking about the politics of beer.
I love it.
So yeah, it was a lot of fun.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So now you are looking pretty trim.
Oh, thank you.
Pretty fit. So this is due in part to your healthy lifestyle.
Yeah.
And you're doing a keto thing.
Yeah, technically, yeah. I'm doing a keto diet right now. I do it every now and again.
Can you explain to me what that is? That's like
So
all
it's just
protein
like
or something, right?
no carbs, high fat, no carbs. And I like it. I call it whiskey and wings.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's like there's a lot worse diets to have. We eat a lot of cheese,
So cheese, wings, whiskey.
Yeah,
Done.
yeah. But I miss beer, especially like you know. So I only do it for like a certain amount of time.
What's your time? Like, when do you go into ketosis? That's the point, right?
I normally take like a couple days to get into ketosis.
Really?
And then, yeah.
Holy crap.
And then, because I've done it before, so I think your body starts to adapt to fat easier. And then your body starts producing ketones, and the ketones tell your body to burn fat.
Crazy.
And and it's a good little diet to lose a bunch of weight.
I'm gonna try this shit out. This sounds like right down my freeway.
Yeah, it's you know what, I have a huge sweet tooth, like a really bad sweet tooth.
Yeah.
But I find actually when I do the keto diet, I don't have cravings for sugar as bad.
Huh.
So I do like that aspect of it as well.
Yeah.
I'm not as sugar crazy as I can be sometimes.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I learned something new. Awesome.
I do have another little project we are working on.
Oh yeah, please.
Yeah, so there was another, it's been kind of under the wraps right now. Hopefully get something out by end of the month. But it's, you know, when I was working at Acme, I was always watching cartoons. And because so many of my ideas are so strange and ridiculous and, you know, hard to shoot sometimes.
Yeah.
I kind of wanted to try my hand at making a cartoon.
You're kidding.
So we did this thing called Robots Are Jerks. And basically it's set in a world where basically the robot revolution was actually peaceful.
Yeah.
People just kept giving robots jobs they didn't want to do until the robots basically just became kind of their guardians, and people just became like pets. So it's about this robot office place, and it's an archiving company. So it's I think it's funny that robots are forced to archive because that's basically all they do, anyways.
Yeah.
But you know, the human needs robots help to poop, but they're allowed to be very philosophical. So it's about a robot and her pet human.
Oh my God.
Daryl, who's like a third of the size of her, and yeah. So we did, yeah, and it's I've done a lot. So we did. I took a workshop on building a writer's room, and I kind of wanted to try it. So what I did was I took like 5 writers that I knew and kind of wanted to work with.
Yeah.
And we had 3 meetings. So the first meeting, I got them to talk to me about, and I explained the story world, and we talk about the story world,
Yeah.
what its boundaries are, who the characters are, because I had these like characters in mind for this world. And I said, at the end of that meeting, the assignment, the second meeting, come back with 8 ideas.
Right.
For 1-minute scripts. All scripts are supposed to be 1 minute long. So then the next meeting, we go through and we read everybody's 8 1-minute ideas, just short form ideas, right?
Yeah.
And then we pick 4 for them to actually write as scripts. And then on the third meeting, we got the actors in, and they came in and and basically read through the 4-minute scripts, and we were going to pick 2.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and then we got some voiceover actors to do them, like Brendan Hunter and Caroline Day. So
yeah, nice.
So and then Jared Lee Sitter did. He's one of the writers, but he also did the character design.
Oh, okay.
So I haven't released them yet. I finished 3 of them. Animation's really hard, by the way.
Oh yeah.
But there's 3 done. But I think what we're going to be doing is I'm going to be trying to submit to what's called the Independent Production Fund, the IPF, as a web series.
Yeah.
Because it hasn't officially been launched. They're looking for new content to develop. So I think what I'm going to do is do like what I've got so far into a 1-minute trailer. I'm going to launch that March 1st. And see if that...
Shit.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and, I think the story is still topical too, I think that, as we are evolving and the robots are coming and, they're everywhere. And, there's things that we're forgetting to do as humans, right? Like, I don't remember phone numbers anymore. I used to remember phone numbers all the time.
Yeah.
Contacts, maps. I'm starting to get bad with like directions because I rely on Google Maps all the time.
Do you remember getting the books, the city books, where you had the grid and you had to go to the page 34 and grid, 8,
I
7.
loved maps. I'm a huge map nerd. I used to have a trunk full of maps. I haven't bought a map for so long just because Google Maps is so much faster.
Right.
And, but like there's consequences with relying on machines for that stuff, right? And this is just the extension of that to the most ridiculous point. So
I just love that though, that you took it to that level. That's awesome.
Yeah, but and they're basically the guardians, and basically it's also a commentary on like I think how people treat their pets too,
right? And
how they baby them and how they take care of them, and they just have this like obsessive need to take care of them. It's kind of like. But at the same time, they're still in an office, and the office is ridiculous and stupid.
Right. You still got meetings.
Yeah, still have meetings, still have like power structures, still have all the things that humans had to deal with. They just put it on the robots, and they didn't really put it on the robots to do it better. Right. They just put the exact same tasks on the robots.
Yeah. I've got this OK Google thing. So I'm just like, when I think of something, I'm just like, add this to my calendar. She does it.
Yeah.
It's great. They've got lawnmowers that are like Roombas now in Victoria at the airport. They've got like live in little dog houses, and they come out and they cut the lawn, and then they come back and put themselves in the doghouse.
Oh yeah.
It's weird.
There was technology. I mean, okay, I'm sitting at a bar, Broken City. I'm talking to a guy. It's loud in the bar. I don't even know how Siri can hear me, right? Yeah. But I mentioned opium, and Siri pipes up, I don't know where to get opium for you, Spencer. And I'm like, thanks for thinking of me. But like, out of all the questions you're eavesdropping on, Siri,
right?
Like,
why that one?
You're my pusher. Like, what is that like?
Suddenly, a drone comes into the bar and like drops off a little brown package for a balloon.
Yeah, are they just like keywording like addictive drugs to like opioids? Oh, I know where you can get a doctor to prescribe you some, Spencer. Like, what? Jesus.
Yeah. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fun. So March 1st, where can people see this?
So I haven't picked a place yet. So it's we're just beginning of February. So I'm still just getting the ducks in a row for trying to launch it. But there will be a single place to watch the video, because that's what the IPF wants. It'll be online for 1 month, and it'll be a little trailer, pretty much explaining what I was talking about, with maybe a couple clips and sound bites from the characters.
Amazing. Yeah. Are you going to put it on your Vimeo channel, do you think, or are you going to do it like your own website and track metrics that way?
I think it'll be on YouTube. Caroline Day, she's got a thing called Hermit Sherpa, which is where they put all of their animation. Oh. So I think it might be something that I put on, like, see if they're willing to post it on there. Just so it gets a little bit more organic traction.
Yeah, totally.
Because the problem I have too sometimes is like I have because my ideas are a little too spread apart and too divergent. I have trouble organizing my social media. So One Hit Diet has an Instagram account, and so does Sharkasaurus.
Right.
And there is crossover between D&D fans and Sharkasaurus fans, as Chris Morris, the guy who built the Sharkasaurus, will tell you. Yeah. But there's not a huge crossover. So
right. I think you need to have those separate properties. Right.
You do and you don't. I think there's like, I think at a certain point it's good to have everything in one area, because people don't always support, when it comes to like, what do you support? It's not always what you support, it's who you support.
True.
I think that like fair. Supporting people is important, and when Sharkasaurus exists as its own entity, it just becomes this like, it's just a cool thing, right?
Right.
But it doesn't have the blockbuster money behind it to promote it, so no one really knows it, no one really gets behind it. But I think when you have all your stuff organized under one, under identity, it's better. Like Stephen King, like people will be like, "Oh, I read Stephen King books,"
right? And we love it, love Christine, love blah 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 blah.
Dark Tower. There's a variety of books that Stephen King writes, but they like Stephen King books, right? So it's more of a concept or an idea.
Oh, so this is a fun way to tie it up. Then, are you considering then the Spencer Estabrooks brand?
I'd love to. I don't know how to do that right now. Yeah. Just because like there's too many weird little projects, and I don't know how to do that. I think it's important to do that. I think that like people starting out should do that. I don't know how I could do it right now. If anyone knows, let me know. Send me an email.
Yeah.
Or tweet at me or something. But I think that it is important to do that, and it is important to bring everything together.
Yeah. No, fair enough. Damn. This has been a hell of a lot of fun.
Cool. Thanks, man. I appreciate having me on.
Yeah. Well, thanks for coming out. And, every time I sit down with somebody in this chair and I'm just like, wow, that like, man, Rebels, holy shit. And Are You Ever? So thanks for
thank you.
Being weird and doing cool shit.
I just want to say like a couple things that people that, I owe a lot to, like Alberta Foundation of the Arts is always funding my stuff. Not always, but I get rejected a lot. But same with Storyhive. Like Telus does a lot of good stuff. They don't fund all my projects. We have to throw a lot of stuff at the wall to see what sticks. Yeah. And then, this new part, Ben Dobbins with Zombie Orpheus and the Fantasy Network. It's, if you want to find it, thefantasy.network is what its URL is. Awesome. They're a really cool organization. So, I don't think anyone does this stuff by themselves. There's always a lot of, people that help us.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I will put all the links, and there will be a lot in this episode in the liner notes. So be sure you check it out on the website or on the Libsyn site or the whatever. You'll find us. But Spencer, you kick ass.
Oh, thank you.
You guys are in for a treat next week. Gonna keep it rolling with Dave and Emanuela Lawrence, taking some time to talk about everything from their time at Loose Moose Theatre here in Calgary, developing the Real Canadian News, FUBAR, and of course everybody's favorite banger, Terry Cahill. Don't miss an episode. Subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Play Music, or anywhere that you get your podcasts. You can even go to the website, rebelrebelpod.com or therebelrebelpodcast.com. Your choice. See you next week.